What's up, everybody, and welcome to a Thursday edition of Morning Cup of Hockey presented by Bet365. That's Colby Cohen. I'm Johnny Lazarus, and we've got a great show for you today with our friend Pierre McGuire, who's joining off the hop here. He's already here, so we don't want to waste a lot of time this morning. But what?
Pierre's idea of being on time is being 10 minutes early because he's old school and he's a hockey guy. And that's the least surprising thing of the morning that Pierre was 10 minutes early.
And we were already fired up, like having a good conversation. The show may as well have started 10 minutes ago when Pierre jumped in. So
he's fired up today.
Yeah, should I just read him in right away? And we'll
bring him in. Bring him in.
All right, so before we bring on Pierre McGuire, I just want to give a quick word from our sponsor, Proraso, the most complete choice for shaving and beard care. Made in Italy since 1948, Proraso has been a staple of Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations. So get 15% off at proraso-usa.com with our promo code Hockey15 in all caps, Hockey15. And Pierre, it's so good to see you this morning. Hope all is well. And I think, Colby, should we just get into right what we were just talking about?
Hold it. Johnny, before you and Colby get going, Johnny, you're going to have to call Coach Carville at University of Massachusetts and say, Coach, I know you lost Lucas Mercury. I know you just lost Don Los Melis, and you just lost Kenny Connors. His top 3 centermen are all moving to the pro hockey ranks. How's he going to replace those guys?
Honestly, Pierre, I did text with Carvey yesterday, and I just sent him a note, and I was like, Carvey, I'm so happy for your program, and I've become such a big fan of your program, but I got to be honest with you. Seeing the kids that are leaving are making huge mistakes. Like, these guys are all about to realize that they're closer to playing in the East Coast League than they are the National Hockey League, where they're at right now.
Colby Cohen just nailed this, Johnny. And the other thing, Cole O'Hara's leaving to go with Nashville too, but he's not a natural centerman. He's a winger. But I was just looking at their depth. Pardon me?
Sunyev went to Calgary.
Yeah, and Sunyev on the other side, 100%. Yeah. She's going to Calgary. So Carvey loses players. So this is for all the parents out there that are watching who think their kids are going to go play pro hockey. All these guys that have signed, go look at how many games they've played. Most of them have played 0. And then they start in the American League. They're sitting there, they're meat on the hoof for practice. Then they're being sent to the East Coast League. And I don't know how many East Coast League games you guys have watched lately, but I can tell you right now, the level of playing the East Coast League is crazy. How high it is.
Yeah.
It's unbelievably hard. People have no idea. They say, oh, yeah, I'm signing. I'm going here. No, you're not. Not so fast.
Pierre, you know, it's funny. Like, I remember, being in college and obviously, freshman, sophomore, junior years, it all changes. But I remember guys saying like, if all I can get is a coast deal, then I'm just going to hang them up and go start my, work life. And then when my time came, I couldn't even sniff the East Coast. I signed an SPHL contract.
But people, I think you and Colby can speak to this just like you can, Johnny, because you're relatively not that recently divorced from it. The East Coast Hockey League every year gets better and better because the players get pushed down. So better and better players are coming in. And I watched the game this Sunday from Iowa City. They were playing Wichita. The level of play in that game was crazy. It was crazy. You would never know you were watching an East Coast Hockey League game.
Is that where Ryan's playing? Is he playing down in the East Coast League?
That's from Yep.
That's what I thought. I mean, I know he ended up at Northeastern and he had a nice finish to his run of college. He ended up having a great college career. I mean, talk about a guy who really probably embodied the college hockey player, right? Like, he was not. Nobody rolled out a red carpet and handed him anything. He went to Colgate. He earned his stripes. He worked his way through a couple of years with an unbelievable coach in Don Vaughn. And just so you know, we're talking about Ryan McGuire, Pierre's son. And then he got a chance to go into Hockey East at the end. I mean, like, he embodies to me like the college hockey player and sort of what that means.
That's really nice of you to say, Colby, and I appreciate you saying that. The one thing I'd say is he left home at 14, so he might be my son, but we more have a coach-player relationship than a father-son relationship. That's all good. But I think college hockey's never been better. I've been in college hockey since 1979. That was my freshman year in college. And I think college hockey's as good as it's ever been and will continue to evolve and get better because of the obvious stuff with the Central Canadian Hockey League and the NCAA. So hang on. There's so many good players that are going to come to college hockey soon. It's scary.
Will you be in St. Louis?
I want to say about UMass, Johnny.
Yeah,
they'll get in the portal and they'll have a lot of youth next year. And Carvey will. There's some really big names out there. And look, the track record is now that's a place that develops players to get NHL contracts. So they will not have a hard time in the portal helping sort of piece their roster together, I would think.
Also,
That's
Nathan
well
Strauss.
said.
Yeah, Nathan Strauss, Pierre, who you know well. Nathan Strauss
Yeah.
tweeted out yesterday, like, I don't remember how many players were on it. It might have been like 12 players that went into UMass undrafted that have now signed NHL contracts after being drafted, just, playing their freshman year under Carve and developing their own talent, So even the guys who don't go into UMass drafted, some guys end up being drafted and then sign their NHL deal. So it's
you're spot on. And Nathan, by the way, is one of the better young play-by-play guys in hockey. He's really good at his job. I had so much fun. I did, I think, 5 or 6 games with Nathan this year. He's tremendous. But, Colby said something, Johnny, that's really relevant. You look at all the different guys in all the different leagues and the potential for players to come down, especially with NIL money.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Like, think about the potential for what could happen in college hockey. And I can just tell you, I watch all the leagues, whether it's the NCHC, whether it's a Big Ten, whether it's the Atlantic, obviously the ECAC and Hockey East. Honestly, if Northeastern had gone through their run and not lost in double overtime to Maine, Hockey East could have had 7 teams in the tournament. Think about that for one second. That league this year, and I know that both of you played in Hockey East. Hockey East was at another level this year. It was crazy. Every night somebody could have, there's not a 9 seed could beat a 1 seed.
UNH was like the 11 seed and they were in the pairwise.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's unbelievable.
It's a fun year, and I'm really looking forward to the Frozen Four, and I heard you doing the hockey or the ECAC Final Four up in Lake Placid. I heard you doing those games, so it's always nice, that flip on a game unexpectedly. And it's like, oh, Pierre's doing this game. Like, I like it. I'm like, someone must know him to get him to do these games. So
I love college hockey. I love it. I played it. I coached it. I'm so grateful for everything college hockey's given me, including in education. So I'll always give back to college hockey. Always.
I love that. So the first place, again, this was not where we planned on starting today, but there was something that happened last night that really kind of drew my, that aggravated me. And it was that Jalen Chatfield play, Pierre. And, to me, seeing this again, I do not care about tempers flaring. And I don't find the whole I blacked out thing as an excuse in a situation like this. To me, Pierre, that is such a dirty, dangerous thing to do to another guy in a fight. And there is a code in fighting, as crazy as that may sound. But I think almost everybody in our chat that listens and watches our show, because these people are massive hockey people that are with us every morning. Like they eat, sleep, breathe hockey, right? Our viewers and listeners. So they know that there's a code. That to me should be a 5-game suspension, Pierre. I hate that play. And I'm curious for you. You've been you created between the benches, which I am grateful for.
Between the glass.
And so you have that vantage point. You've been there in those scrums. What did you think of that play?
I really detested it. I'm a huge Jalen Chatfield fan. Speaking of college hockey, ask Trip Tracy, who does such a good job for Carolina as their analyst. I talk to Trip a lot, and one of the things I keep telling him is I can't believe the improvement in Jalen Chatfield's game from the time he left Vancouver to the time he got to Carolina. And every year he gets better. That's a tribute to him and his hard work, and also to Tim Gleason, that coaches the defense in Carolina. That being said, I detested that play. There's no room for that.
No.
None at all. And so the one thing I can tell you, the people that run the Department of Player Safety, they're more like old school people than new school people. And so they're going to say that's not acceptable. In my own mind, I believe they're going to say that.
I agree.
So I don't know how long the suspension is going to be, but I do believe he will be suspended for that.
What do you think?
We have a good comment though from Dana O'Connor, who said what Chatfield did was intentional, but I think the question is, what was his intention? Like, use leverage, judo throw, slam a guy's head on the ice, don't fall. Like that's what I was wondering when I was watching, because he looked like he swept the leg from underneath him, right? Like,
of course he did.
Yeah, but he did do that. That's kind of a smooth foot. So here's the one thing I'd say. I go to the gym a lot. I have a lot of guys that I work with, different. So one of the things a lot of these young kids do now, they watch MMA.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to divert the subject or anything.
Yeah.
I watch MMA, and a lot of them train like MMA fighters. And so you just said it, Johnny. He swept the leg.
Yeah.
That's a common thing that happens in MMA.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, look, it's not like Probert and Domi. It's not like Koser and Caulfield. It's not like Kite and Koser. Like that's my era. I go back to when I saw on a Saturday night the late John Ferguson pulverize the late Bobby Hull in the Montreal Forum, and the blood was still on the ice Sunday morning when the junior Canadians were practicing. And the only reason I know that, I went to watch the practice because Gilbert Perreault was playing for the Montreal Junior Canadians. So, anyways, long story short, that's a different era. But I didn't like that play, and and I can preface everything I say to you guys by telling you, I think Jalen Chatfield is one of the most improved guys in the league.
Me too.
Yeah,
I really do.
There's nothing. If Jalen Chatfield is part of your shutdown, bottom pairs, or even playing him up the lineup, and you're in good shape. That guy plays hard. He pretty much plays between the whistles. Like, he's not a guy that I really think even plays in the gray normally. Like, he's an honest player, but that was. And I saw one comment in our chat that said soft. Look, Adam's asking if we can show the play. I think a couple of people are late. Vic, why don't you roll the video again just so everybody can see the play? But, I have no problem two grown men who decide to fight standing there and like letting eat punches and try to get. I have no problem with big hits, like none of these things. But again, this goes past the code of what you should do, using your leverage to slew foot and throw a guy over your leg. And the guy almost, smashes his head on the ice. McMichael, again, I hope he gets 5 games, and I hope that sets a precedent that if you try to do this UFC shit in a hockey fight, you're going to face severe consequence. And to me, 5 games is pretty severe.
It is, especially at this time of the year. When you consider that a lot of teams only have 7 to 9 games left, 5 games is pretty significant. I mean, look, so I'll use the Florida Panthers as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Ekblad is not playing, and he won't be playing until after the second game of the playoffs. You don't think that's affected their team? So you lose a guy like Jaden Chatfield, to Colby's point, which I thought was excellent. You lose a depth player like that. Now, they do have a really good young player, and Johnny, you'll like this, Scotty Morrow. UMass guy.
I love
so
that.
They got a guy that can plug and play. He's not as good as Chatfield right now, but eventually I think he will be.
Yeah.
But they're fortunate that they have that player in reserve that can come in and play.
So here's another comment too, just quick, Colby.
Chat, Johnny.
That's what I was going to do. I was
going
to do that. So Josh Miller said, "What are you suspending on? Some BS code?" So that's
no. I didn't say the code once.
Intent to injure.
100%. I'm with Colby. Intent to injure. It has nothing for me. It has nothing to do with a code, because I don't believe there is a code, because a code can shift from day to day depending on who does it. So I've never been a code guy, but I do think what Colby said is spot on. Attempt to injure. He's not trying to fight the guy. He's trying to hurt the guy.
And you rarely see when two guys go to the ice in a fight, Pierre, you rarely see a guy swing when they're down, even though they probably could. You rarely see it. Go ahead.
You'd have to go back to probably the 1980s, and there's a great fight between Dave Semenko and Tim Hunter, Calgary versus Edmonton, and both of them are on their sides, and they're punching each other right in the face. I don't think I've ever seen a fight like that before, and it just speaks to the passion and the energy and the vitriol that existed between Edmonton and Calgary at the time. But you're right, Colby. You don't see that very often. You just don't see that.
So I think we have to just to play devil's advocate a bit here, because I kind of see where Josh Miller is coming from. Like he's saying, his intent was to end the fight. He's never shown anything dirty in his career. How can you say he is now trying to injure someone? And when you fight somebody, clearly it makes sense when you're fighting someone, you're trying to hurt them. Like that is a clear thing that happens in the world of fighting. You're not just trying to punch somebody and not hurt them, right? You're trying to win a fight. But when you make a move like this, knowing that someone has their helmet off and you can slam their head on the ice, that's the difference.
Yeah.
Punching a guy in the face, you're obviously clearly trying to hurt him, but slamming a guy's head on the ice is a different story.
That's well said. Well said, Johnny.
Look, Josh, I know you're here a lot. It's obvious that you're a passionate Carolina.
But I get it. I get where he's coming from.
I wouldn't. that could have been my best friend who did that, and I would be saying the exact same thing, that it's a dirty play and there's intent to injure the other guy. And intent to injure like that is different than standing toe to toe and trying to, break somebody's
That's what I'm
eye.
saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So
yeah.
Listen, I hope he gets suspended. I really do. And we can agree to disagree. Like, I respect your opinion, and you're obviously a Canes fan here. I have no horse in this race, Pierre, but that's how I see it.
So here's what I think the gentleman's name is Josh. And I think his passion is great. Passion's awesome. So I love that and really respect it. And I'll never tell him how to think, but I'm going to ask him one question. Let's just say Seth Jarvis is involved with Connor McMichael, and Connor McMichael does that to Seth Jarvis. What is your thought then, Josh? What is your thought then?
Yeah. I bet you the tune would be very different. You'd be looking for him to throw the book at McMichael for doing that and put him in jail for about 30 days.
That's my point. So you got to see both sides of it.
And J-Rock too, like, none of us called Chatfield a dirty player.
No,
like, we're just saying that move.
That's why I said he never plays in the gray. This guy's an honest player. I've never seen, he plays the game hard and honest, but that was not an honest play.
No, agreed.
Yeah.
That being said, Carolina is a good team.
Oh, yeah. A good team. They are a good team.
And one other thing, and Carolina fans won't like this, they got to make a move this year in terms of going up the playoff standing. They just can't be first or second round fodder. I believe this year for Carolina, more than any other year, is a referendum on analytics. If they don't do well, I wonder what happens to the analytics community after this. If they do well, it'll be interesting to see what happens to the scouting fraternity after this. This is going to be an interesting year with Carolina.
Do you know Eric Tolsky at all? Or is there any?
I've spoken to Eric a few times, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think some of the comments that Rod Brindamore has made this year that seem, kind of directed towards Eric Tolsky, it's kind of surprised me at times this year, Pierre, just because for so long, I feel like Carolina has such a way of doing business and nobody really – there's like no room for individuality in Carolina. It's like we are all the logo. And I've always really respected that about the organization. So I don't know. I think it's been a little interesting. I feel like Rod, he hasn't come out and say it, but maybe I'm reading between the lines with some of the things that he said. And I just wonder, former old school hockey player, new school analytics GM. I wonder about that, Pierre. I'm not, I don't have any inside information there. I just wonder, as we're allowed to do, right?
I think it's more than fair to wonder. And again, that's why I said I think this is a huge referendum on analytics with what happens with Carolina. That being said, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're a Carolina Hurricanes fan, you got a good team. You have a really good team.
Yeah.
You're penalty killing. Every team in the league should be watching how they establish pressure points in Carolina. Your entries on the power play, every team in the league should be watching how Carolina enters its own on the power play. This is a really well-orchestrated group. They're a ton of fun to watch. They really are. Do I think they might have some holes in their lineup? They might, but we're going to see in the playoffs. We'll see. We'll see where they are.
Well, Pierre, I said this last year on the show, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on it too. And I saw someone mention it in the chat like a little bit up, so I can't scroll up and find who exactly said it. And I hate when I do that because I want to give people credit when they write in here. But here you go, Zach Anderson. Last year I said, does Rod Brindamore's legacy in Carolina make him unfireable? And coaching is not the issue. It's the furthest thing from the problem in Carolina. But if they keep getting to the playoffs and can't get over the hump, like they haven't won a conference final game yet, and however, I think 7 years since Rod's been there. So at what point do you look at Rod and say, hey, maybe we do need to change? But because Rod Brindamore captained them to a Stanley Cup and has been there for so long and has basically been the face of Carolina Hurricanes hockey, like how can you ever make that call?
It's going to be hard. It'll be hard for them. Bob Gainey had the same type of thing in Montreal. Phil Esposito had the very same thing with the New York Rangers. Iconic figures in organizations are hard guys. Bob Clark in Philadelphia. You can ask Frank Saravelli about Bob Clark. Iconic figures in organizations are hard to replace. And Colby, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You played for one of the most iconic coaches in the history of hockey, Jack Parker. Yeah. I mean, think about it for a second. I mean, it's pretty amazing stuff. So iconic guys are hard to replace. Here's what I'd say, though, about Carolina. The parts are there. The ability to win is there. The question mark is going to be, will they be able to deliver in goal? And will they be deep enough with their offense to win in the playoffs? will the supplemental offense continue in the playoffs like it has in the regular season? Because they swung for the fence. You guys know the Mikko Rantanen thing. That was a big deal. That was a big deal. They swung. I give them so much credit. They swung for the fence. They didn't get to the fence. And no disrespect to Logan Stankoven. He's a good player. He is. He's a good, but he's not Mikko Rantanen.
Yeah.
He's not.
All right, I want to switch gears a little because there are a couple of teams that we really don't talk about much, Pierre, because they're not playoff teams. But I thought you would really be the perfect guy to weigh in on this stuff, having with your diverse background of where, like, you've been a manager, you've been a coach, like you've touched so many positions within these NHL organizations. And one of the first names that I wanted to ask you about is Barry Trotz, who I'm sure you know a very long time. I look at the situation there. I wonder about Andrew Burnett. I wonder about, Barry Trotz. Not necessarily wondering if Barry Trotz is safe in his job. That's not what I'm inferring here, because I don't think that is a thing. Where do they go from here, though? Because this year, again, we celebrated with all the moves he made, and we were like, this team's going to be so exciting. What a swing and a miss for the first-time general manager. So, where does Nashville go from here, Pierre?
It was the most disappointing situation in the National Hockey League this year, and nobody feels worse than Barry Trotz, and I'm sure Andrew Burnett feels just as bad. The one bind that they have together is winning a Calder Cup in Portland, Maine. Barry was a coach, and Andrew Burnett was a really good player for him. I used to watch them all the time. I go so far back to watching Andrew Burnett play on a line with Kirk Maltby and Scott Walker.
Wow.
Okay, that's with Owen Sound in the Ontario Hockey League. Just to put it out there.
Matt Molson said in our show last week that he grew up watching Andrew Burnett highlights. He was filming Andrew Burnett games. That's what he was doing.
So there you go.
That you take out of your brain and put in your file. Seriously, I don't understand.
I just really have passion to scout, and I love it when I see really good things. And that line was just amazing back in the day in the Ontario Hockey League. Burnett's been a tremendous hockey professional. Barry Trotz has been. I don't think there's a divide there where they calculated the impact of free agency on their group. And I don't think their goaltending held up the way they wanted it to hold up this year. So you combine the swing and the miss on a couple free agent moves, and then you combine that with goaltending that was below par. I think that's what led to what went on in Nashville. I don't think it's going to be that hard to fix. I really don't, but I think they'll be proactive in trying to fix it this summer.
You feel like next year they can work themselves back into being a playoff team?
I do, and you guys are going to laugh. I love the fact that they were aggressive and took Cole O'Hara out of college. It's not because I don't think he could have developed for Carvey, and I think he would have been a leading candidate for the Hobey Baker next year. But you put him 30 games in the American Hockey League, he's going to come in, and I think he's going to help their team. I do. I think he's going to help their team. Okay. Some development has to happen there too. Like Justin Barron comes from Montreal. They're going to have to develop him to get him to be a top 4 guy. I don't know if he can do it or not, but they're going to have to. So there's some parts there that can be worked on and be better. But Barry's going to have to be real proactive this summer, I believe.
A joke that Cole didn't get into the top 10 and Hobey Baker finalists. Joke.
So here's okay. You guys, we're all the same. And I watch Colby work, and I admire his TV work because his passion for it comes right through the TV screen. And that's an awesome thing. I think they have to redo how they do the Hobey.
100%.
Ballot.
100%.
I have nothing against anybody, but once you start advertising, trying to lobby for votes for guys in the Hobey, they're trying to drum up interest. Look, the Fusco brothers are the only brothers to ever win the Hobey Baker. They were phenomenal. George McPhee, the president of hockey operations in Vegas, won the Hobey Baker in Bowling Green. Neil Broughton, won the Hobey Baker. I can go down the line, all the great players. Ryan Miller as a goalie won the Hobey Baker. They didn't have to politic to win the Hobey Baker. Right. They were great players. I think
it's a broken system. It's a
right. Do you agree, Colby? We got to get that out.
I was on the committee for 3 prior years. I'm no longer, and I'm happy I'm not, to be honest. I resigned from the position, and the coaches part. You're asking coaches in Hockey East to vote on players out in the West, that teams they haven't seen, and you're basically just. We need a group of people that see everyone, and that should be who picks the 10, and the committee needs to be completely overhauled. I was on too many of those committee calls where people had massive agendas and they had issues with players that were not hockey issues. There were stupid things like, I don't even want to go there, honestly, Pierre, but I am with you 100% on they need to completely redo the way they go about picking the Hobey Baker.
Hey, Johnny, I'm gonna have what Colby's having, because I'm with him. And winning the Hobey Baker is a special deal. And I don't know who's gonna win it this year. I got to think Ryan Leonard's got a legitimate chance to win it this year, but I don't know what they're going to do. I have no idea. I couldn't tell you.
Well, Pierre, here's one more point too. Mike McMahon, who does a great job covering college.
He's awesome. Michael is amazing. He does a great job.
He's in the chat right now, saying that he was on the committee. His 3-year term in the committee ended last year. The Fantilli year, maybe the same time as you, Colby. People were arguing against Adam Fantilli because he had a major. That Michigan State fight. We talked about that Michigan State fight. Yeah.
So first of all, Michael does amazing work. I love reading his stuff, and you can tell he's got the Colby Cohen passion for college hockey. I'm fortunate and blessed to be part of the Hockey Hall of Fame selection committee. I'm just so grateful every day to be part of that.
Coach Parker.
But here's what I'll say. That never gets brought. That's the only thing I'll say about the committee I'm on. Yeah. That stuff. Guy had a major. You can't get in. Are you kidding me? Come on.
Look, Mike, I'll say this. The last thing I'm saying here about college, because there's one more NHL situation we want to get into with Pierre, and then we know you got to go. But
no, I still have some time for you guys. We're good.
Perfect. We're good. We might have to do that. One more topic too. Yeah.
Mike McMahon is the only person that I pay for. I pay for his weekly. He puts them out bi-weekly and whatever. He's the only person. I do not pay for The Athletic. I do not pay. I don't pay for any publication except his, because there's nothing. If you like college hockey or you're even interested in knowing about college hockey, his Mike McMahon's newsletter, podcast. I don't listen to the pod as much, and I've talked to him about that, but I love the daily emails, and it's I think it's $7 a month or something for his Substack. Best $7 that I spend every month when it comes to what I'm willing to pay for the sport of hockey. So I'm glad you're in the chat, Mike. I know we've talked about the fact that you're here sometimes with us, but you're not a chatter, but you're a listener. If you like or are interested in college hockey, check out Mike McMahon's Twitter. Mike, drop your Twitter handle in the chat so people can look at your bio. And again, you want to learn about college hockey, this is the guy that will keep you up to date all year long. Like when I'm not doing TV games, I'm really only watching a little BU, a little Michigan, like a little. His newsletter keeps me so dialed all season.
All over the portal too. And that portal is crazy.
All over it. Yeah.
Crazy. This is the craziest. Look, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. My kid used the portal. He left Colgate as Colby said to go to Northeastern. Yeah. And I thought it was crazy last year. This is a whole other level of crazy this year. The portal is a whole other level of crazy.
When I see a guy who's had 3 teams in 3 years, I'm like, maybe it's you. Maybe it's not every school you played for. Ryan played, 3 years at Colgate before he transferred?
3
and then
years.
He went for his last year. That's a different situation. That's what the portal's meant to be. The portal's not meant to be, I didn't get enough power play time, so I'm going to the next school and to the next school. So, all right, back to NHL, Johnny. Go ahead.
I know we want to do Rick Tocchet and the Flyers, but I feel like we can that can like be a minute or 2 minute conversation. I really want to do this Mount Rushmore question for Pierre. Okay,
go ahead.
Because I talked about this with Jeff Marek yesterday, and Pierre, I feel like it would be universally agreed upon that right now, like no matter the age difference between people, like that have watched hockey since the beginning and now, like the unanimous Mount Rushmore of hockey players is probably Bobby Orr, Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, and Gordie Howe. Like that's probably the 4. I think most people
in Montreal would tell you Jean Beliveau, Guy Lafleur.
So even that proving my point, because the conversation in, let's say, 2 weeks, once Ovi does this, is probably going to be, does he belong or not? Right?
Yeah.
It's going to be a part of the conversation, whether we want to have it or not. And I'm curious what you think the Mount Rushmore would be, because I also think, like, if it's up to me, I'm putting Crosby ahead of him.
Sid needs to be on there. Sid needs to think about it. So here's where it's not just everybody talks about NHL, but think about Sidney Crosby.
You're
Sidney
also the best person to ask, by the way. I'm really pumped that we're talking about this with you.
So thank you, Johnny. I'm really happy to be with you and Colby, by the way. So here, because I love both of you. Your passion is awesome for hockey, and that's what hockey really is. So if you think about Crosby going to Shattuck St. Mary's from Cole Harbour, then he goes to Rimouski. In 2005, his draft year, he takes Rimouski that never should have gone to the final of the Memorial Cup, takes him to the final of the Memorial Cup. Before that, though, he had won the World Junior Gold in Grand Forks, North Dakota. So then you go fast forward to 2010, he scores the golden goal. But before that, in 2008, he goes to the final with Pittsburgh. In 2009, he wins a Stanley Cup with Marc-Andre Fleury and those great Pittsburgh Penguin teams coming from behind to beat Detroit. Then in 16 and 17, wins a Stanley Cup. But before that, in 14, is part of a gold medal winning team in Sochi. If you look at all the things that he has accomplished with different parts of the hockey world, it is amazing. He's got to be construed. Scotty Niedermayer won the Memorial Cup. He won World Junior. He won the Stanley Cup. Like Scotty Niedermayer is an all-world winner. Crosby's right there. The only thing he didn't win was a Memorial Cup. It's amazing to see all the things Crosby won in his career. It's amazing.
And he's still doing it again, 20 seasons above a point per game.
So think of it, Johnny, this, and Colby, you'll like this. I was in the room when they did the draft lottery in 2005. It was at a suite at the Sheraton Hotel in New York, just off of Broadway. And they did, rather than say the winner is Pittsburgh, they said the third selection belongs to the Carolina Hurricanes. The second selection belongs to the Anaheim Ducks. And you heard this bang like this. It was Brian Burke. They didn't win. He was a GM in Anaheim. And they said, obviously, with the first selection, the Pittsburgh Penguins. So if you think about it for 1 second, Crosby goes 1. Bobby Ryan goes 2. Jack Johnson goes 3. But there was a player taken way past that after the 10th pick in the draft, Ansei Kopitar. So if you think about it for 1 second, and Kopitar that year, the World Championships were in Innsbruck and Vienna. Kopitar was a 17-year-old player, just turning 18, playing in the world. He engineered an upset almost over Canada that had all their best players because it was a nuclear winter. It was unbelievable how good Kopitar was. Yeah. But think about how if Crosby doesn't go to Pittsburgh, men, if Crosby doesn't go, where is the franchise still in Pittsburgh?
No, probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But I'd also I agree Crosby deserves to be on there, but my argument for Ovi, it's the same. He deserves to be there too. Like maybe we just need to make another space on the Mount Rushmore.
Bigger.
Make it bigger because it's hard to look at different
you have to have the best
generations.
goal scorer of all time on there. You have to.
That's what I'm saying. The guy's won a cup, and the consistency of which he has scored goals with. Like Wayne Gretzky was not scoring goals like this when he was 40. Like, let's be clear.
Yeah.
It's
really
Vic, put that little stat up, that tweet that was it David
This is the coolest part.
The David Amber tweet, and I'll read it.
I saw this last night. Yeah, this is
audio
good.
only. Here's a stat for you. Gretzky, 1,487 games, 894 goals. Ovechkin, 1,485 games, 892 goals. Like, he's probably going to do it in the exact same amount of games to at least get to 894. Maybe he reels off 2 and he gets ahead of him. But I think Ovechkin and Crosby saved. And like, when we look back and we look at the trajectory of the salary cap and where the game is going and revenues, you point to those two guys, because you think about, we come out of the lockout, NBC's our new TV partner, and you guys are doing a great job on NBC Sports. You create a whole network. The faces of that network, the highlight games for so many years, was that man against Crosby against Ovechkin, and those guys were everything to the NHL the last 20 years.
Colby, spot on. Rivalry Wednesday was created because of Sidney Crosby and Alexander Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals versus the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the vitriol that exists between those two franchises. So you could not be more correct. What I would also say is that Alexander Ovechkin accomplished so much with so many different players. You know, people forget when he started out, he played on a line with Nicky Backstrom and Sergei Fedorov. At the end of his career, There was no Backstrom. There was no Kuznetsov. Lots of different partners along the way. And every single year, the consistency in Ovi's game has been unbelievable. And, everybody says, he stands in the same spot. Everybody knows it's coming, and he still does it.
Yeah,
that's how great he is. That's
what I said about last night's goal that he scored in Carolina. I was like, the craziest thing about Ovi's run is that this goal could have been from 2012, and I wouldn't have known the
100%.
Yeah. His ability to shoot back the other way on a one-timer, there's only a few people in the history that could put it back the other way off the momentum. Puck is spinning, mostly from Carlson to Ovi. So you got that clockwise spin to clockwise shot on the puck spin, and his ability to go back the other way. Most guys are pulling that short side, and he does that too, but nobody can label it back the far side from their one-timer spot like Ovi can.
The only team – go ahead, Johnny. Go ahead. I'll finish him. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say this to you, Pierre, because we were talking about it earlier with Pat Maroon this week, and I would love nothing more than for Ovi to get that third hat-trick goal to break it tomorrow night on home ice against Pat, so we can talk to Pat about it, because Colby and Pat
those Friday nights. Hey, I coached a lot of those Friday night games in Washington. People talk about Saturday night in Toronto or Saturday night in Montreal. Friday night in Washington's a heck of a night. Yeah. Washington Capitol Friday nights are really tough places to play. It used to be like the old Odd in Buffalo. You play there on Friday night at 8:00 at night, and people were gunned up, and it was a hard building to play in. What I was going to say is the only time I ever saw Ovechkin get shut down from that office that he created at the top of the circle, the 2010 playoffs against Montreal. Montreal had Roman Hamrlik and Yaroslav Spacek blocking shots like goalies.
I remember him.
And Yaroslav Halak was in goal for Montreal. It's the only time, and it was a major upset. Everybody remembers that in Washington.
Dominic Moore Game 7 goal.
Major, but those two guys, Spacek and Hamrlik, it was unbelievable what they were doing. I've never seen two guys block more shots in a playoff series than those two guys.
All right, Pierre. So do you have time, like 3 more minutes?
I have time for because I got it.
All right.
I got it. This is the beauty of the phone. I got a text saying I wasn't needed for a little longer. So
okay. All right. So here's my last topic I want to ask you about. Again, perfect guy to ask. You've been behind the bench, an NHL bench. The Flyers have a coaching opening.
Yeah.
Rick Tocchet seems like the guy for that job. Vancouver just came out and said, if we don't get a contract extension done with Rick, we'll pick up his team option. So you're basically forcing him to stay. Coaching jobs are fickle, right? Like, you want to keep it if you have one, because there's only a few of them in the entire world. Does that create a weird situation if Rick Tocchet ends up having his option picked up? He's only got 1 year, and then he kind of thinks like, damn, I'm missing my opportunity to go back to Philly. I just wonder how that whole situation is going to play itself out, and I would love your opinion on it.
Cooler heads will prevail. There's a veteran person running the front office there, Jimmy Rutherford. So cooler heads will prevail. You can't force somebody to stay if they don't want to. It'll lead to a whole lot of problems internally. They've already had enough problems in Vancouver with, what happened with JT Miller and the Pedersen stuff. I don't think they want to go down the drama road anymore. So if Rick doesn't want to stay there, I got to think they're going to at some point let him walk. That being said, here's what I'd like you to think on Colby. I know you got to tie into Philly. I think Rick Tocchet's the only coach in the National Hockey League that could come to Philadelphia and actually sell season tickets. There are not a lot of coaches that can come to Philadelphia and you'd actually get an increase in season ticket revenue.
He would.
Tocchet would sell season tickets there. They're not like, Joel Quenneville's a very good friend. I don't think Joel could sell season tickets there. David Carl's a great coach at Denver. I don't think he could sell season tickets there.
And I don't think he'd want that job, honestly.
No, but you know what I'm saying. But Tocchet could come there. He's, as much as I loved, and I had the privilege of coaching Rick during a Stanley Cup run, as much as I think he was a great Pittsburgh Penguin, he's a legendary Philadelphia Flyer. There is a difference.
Tocchet is Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Well, that was something I wanted to ask you too, Pierre, because you meant we've been talking about David Carl, I feel like, a lot, and everyone always asks about David Carl, just because all the success he's had in Denver. If you were to pick one college coach that would be the next one to make that jump, who would you pick?
Carl, probably because of the World Junior success that he's had, when you're coaching that, you're usually coaching first and second round and third round picks, guys that go on to have pretty substantial NHL careers. So he understands that dynamic. That's a dynamic you have to learn about. But there's a guy at your alma mater by the name of Greg Carvel who's actually coached in the National Hockey League. And he worked for a guy, and I know it's not cool to say, but I'm going to say it because it doesn't bother me. Mike Babcock was a hell of a coach. You can say whatever you want, but Mike Babcock was a hell of a coach. Carvel coached with him. Carvel also worked for Brian Murray, the late Brian Murray, who was a tremendous hockey man up in Ottawa and in Washington and in Florida and in Anaheim. Brian's career was amazing. So there's another college name that I would throw out there. And they're more than that, by the way. There are a lot more. Like, I don't know how much love Rand Pecknold's getting. Rand Pecknold's success at Quinnipiac is unbelievable. And at Colt, just so we can play the alma mater game, Jay Pandolfo.
I'm worried about that.
You got to be, because there's one, I think potentially there could be one opening, maybe two. Boston could open up.
I know.
And he's already worked there. He's worked there as a development coach, and he's worked there as an assistant coach. And he lives in, I won't tell you the town in Boston, because I don't want people to go, whatever his house. Yeah. But he's another one. And then, you think about, I don't know what's going to happen with the Islanders. Do you guys know? No. Like, does anybody know?
Let me hit you with a name, Pierre. Get your opinion on this.
Yep.
Pat Ferschweiler. Him and Keith Jones.
Him and Keith Jones. Western Michigan.
Line mates.
Yeah,
in college, coached in the NHL first. Like, he's like Pando. He was an assistant in the National Hockey League. Like, he's a big he's got presence, Pat Ferschweiler. Like, 100%. I could see him walking into an NHL room day one and just having command of the room, even as a guy coming out of college. Like, his presence is massive.
He's a lot like Carvel because he coached in Detroit as an assistant, and he was there with Jeff Blashill, and Blashill had spent a lot of time with Babcock. So there's a tree that forms, right? And that's why I think you're right on. And the other thing, when those guys were playing at Western Michigan, Ferschweiler and Jones, they had another guy there, Mike Eastwood. And the only reason I know all this stuff is because I was coaching at St. Lawrence when they came and played against us at Christmas time. And we did their coach at the time was Billy Wilkinson, really good college hockey coach. And we did a number on them. But I remember Ferschweiler, and I remember Eastwood, and I remember Jones. Those three guys were really good for Western Michigan at that time. So you're not wrong on that, Colby. It's a great name to throw out there. Really good name.
Yeah. Colby, you got something?
No, listen, Pierre, 45 minutes. We're grateful. We know you're busy. Always. We know you're doing a lot of things. Not a lot of people, you have forgotten more than most people will ever be lucky to know about this game. So having you on to pick your brain about these head coach and management situations is we're humbled, and we're lucky that you're always willing to come on when we ask. So we really appreciate your time.
Well, I'm grateful for your friendship. I love your passion, both of you. It's awesome. I love working with you. Yeah. I know. I like it, though. I like it. The one other thing I just want to add, because this is the alma mater game. Can all those people that wrote derogatory things about Lane Hutson, can you just apologize, as vociferous as you were writing all the negative stuff? Can you now say, look, I was wrong. I apologize. Lane Hutson's really good. I did a show with Maxime Lapierre the other day. He is, by the way, in English and French. You guys should get him on your show. He's outstanding. He's really, really good. He works his tail off. He's excellent media. Anyways, that being said, he said something that I thought was really smart. Everybody says Lane Hutson's a superstar. They're right. He is. But he's one thing better. He's a franchise player.
Yeah.
When you call an NHL player a franchise player, that's going to a whole other level.
Yeah. You got one guy in the chat, Randy Workman. I believe he lives in Calgary. Randy, correct me if I'm wrong.
He does.
He knows his history, Randy. Anytime he chimes in with it, he just said, "Amen, Pierre. I was wrong." So there's your first apology, Pierre, from our guy Randy Workman in the chat.
I think the world of Randy. I do a podcast in the afternoon with my good friend Jimmy Murphy from Boston, and I can tell you right now, Randy is probably with you guys a religious listener and viewer, and some of his takes are really good.
He knows the history of the game. He's a historian.
He does. They're really, really solid. So I enjoy that interaction. But I just want to say, I saw Brian Leach play at Avon Old Farms for John Gardner, and he, trust me, his partner at the time was a kid named Rod Brasha. That's how much I remember. Okay, and so I saw Leach there. I saw Adam Fox, obviously at Harvard, like you guys did.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a lot of really good players play that position in college and then move on to the pros. I've never seen a guy in my time in college, so starting in 1979, including Chelios, by the way, I never saw a guy play college hockey that had as much ability to dominate the game offensively from that position than Lane Hutson.
I've never
ever
seen it either. Yeah, he did. He actually did. He dominated more offensively than Cale did. Cale dominated more overall, but
overall, 100%.
Lane's in a different category.
Totally different. And that's not. Look at Cale McCarr's unbelievable.
He might be the greatest ever play that position by the end of it. He might.
But he overpowered, like his skating and his strength and his size overpowers people. The deception in Lane Hutson's game is crazy.
Unreal.
It's like Magic Johnson in basketball as a 6'6" point guard. Like it's crazy to see how creative he could be, and it's the same with Lane.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought that up. We've had a lot of Lane Hutson fanfare the last couple of days. You're crazy if you don't vote for this guy for Calder. He's pulled away with it. He's put himself in his own tier, and then you've got Macklin and Wolf, and then you've got Mitchkoff. They're all in a lower tier. They're great.
It's
lower tier than Lane.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Hey, Jay Pandolfo in his second year as a head coach at BU got to coach Macklin, Celebrini, and Lane Hutson on the power play. Thanks for coming.
Pereira, hey. Joe
That's
Pereira
amazing.
is an architect. Joey Pereira, the associate head coach, is an architect, and he's building something special for next year right now too. So I one of my former roommates, man, it's fun to watch him work. So you're the best, Pierre. Have an awesome day, and hopefully we'll talk during the Frozen Four.
I'll be watching both of you and listening. And Cole, we have a ton of fun with the Frozen Four. And Johnny, thank you.
Thank you, Pierre.
Johnny, thank you for everything.
Much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Colby, I don't want to brag, but I sent Vic a tweet actually of mine from August. And Vic, I don't know if you have that queued up, but Mike Bartner, who posts a lot of hockey content, tweeted out, like, what's your dark horse for the awards this year? This was on August 16th. Vic doesn't have the tweet in front of him, obviously, because it's a good look for me and he doesn't want to make me look good. But I said probably not a dark horse, but Lane Hutson for Calder would be my dark horse pick for an award. So credit to me for being smart and knowing hockey.
Good job. Anyways, that went longer than we thought, and there's another team outside the playoffs looking in, that I wanted to make a comment about today, and that's the Chicago Blackhawks. Mm-hmm. They were on TNT last night. Look, I don't watch a ton of Chicago Blackhawks anymore. I just there's no reason to, honestly. They're not a good team, and they're not entertaining.
Just for Pat.
Okay, yes, I forgot about that, just for Pat. But watching them last night, if you're a Blackhawks fan, you've got to feel some excitement, because you're watching that game and you've got, 5 of your 6 defensemen playing in that game are drafted in the last couple of years between the first, second, and third round. Del Mastro might be a 4th. Mm-hmm. Plastic looks every bit of a number 1 top pair defenseman, maybe not a number 1, like a 1A, right? Because he's like, you put him with your thoroughbred, and so you've got a top pair defenseman in Vlasic. Lev Shunov has looked really good so far. Rinzel, granted, small sample size, but you could see the talent. Okay, Del Mastro, Kaiser. You can see that these guys are NHL players. And Del Mastro and Kaiser might be third pair guys as they develop, but you're looking at all the Spencer Knight, right? You went out and got Spencer Knight. He's looked phenomenal so far. Nazar's game is trending in the right direction. He's playing 17 minutes a night. Landon Slaggert's going to be a good 4th liner for you. Moore looks like he'll be a good 3rd liner once he figures it out a little
Moore
bit.
Can fly. He can fly.
Obviously, Bedard is Bedard. And the question about Bedard, I was talking to someone who lives in Chicago last night in the hockey world, and I said, look, Bedard is a star. The question is he an all-star or a superstar? Probably just an all-star. If he probably is an all-star player. Like, Connor Bedard is probably going to be an all-star in Chicago for a long time. Is he going to be an elite superstar, franchise, Hall of Fame, blah, 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 carry to Cubs? It doesn't look like he's going to be that to me, but you get a guy
I still think he will be.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just telling you my opinion.
Yeah.
But he's still going to have the word star in his bio for his whole career. Maybe he becomes a superstar. Maybe he's just becomes an all-star. Again, either is going to work. So my point is that if you are a Chicago fan, there's reason to be optimistic, right? Like I'm watching this game and I'm like, you know what? I was working there close to the front office, when they burnt this thing down and they took it down to the studs. And so I followed these young players, these drafts, and I just got to think that Kyle Davidson is sitting there last night in his box and he's smiling a little bit, right? Because you're looking and like Lev Shunov looks like he's going to be a really fucking good player, right? And Rinzel, everybody said, oh, they reached. They picked this kid when he was still in the USHL, and they knew they would have to be patient, right? And so I just think that if you are a Chicago Blackhawks fan last night, and I know they lose, and Colorado never comes in and takes them serious and plays well in their building, and a lot of teams like Chicago will be leading on, and then they'll come storming back. It happens with Vegas all the time, whatever. But you just have to be smiling a little bit. Colton Dock is, I believe, injured, but he's another young guy. Reichel is playing 12 minutes a night. He's probably not a long-term player on that roster, if we're going to be completely honest about it. I just think that you should feel some optimism if you're a Chicago Blackhawks fan, seeing all those players in the lineup last night. Now, I still think Rinzel probably needs some time in the American League, even if he makes the team out of camp. Just like I could see it. You still have Kevin Korchinski, who's trying to figure it out, but he's loaded with ability. They're going to get another top 5 pick this year. You're going to get another really good player. Maybe they end up with Higgins. You never know, right? I mean, so I just wanted to say that because I know we have Chicago people. I saw Sneaky Pete is in here today. I know we have some other Chicago people that listen. I would just think looking at last night, if you're a Blackhawks fan, you just kind of take a deep breath and just be like, all right, I can see it. Like it's still far down the tunnel, but I can at least see that there's a path.
Well, here's what I want to say about it. I'm not saying you're doing this, but I know other people are. I think it's crazy to like write off a kid who's 19 right now.
Well, who's writing him off?
I didn't say you are, but I see people saying like Bedard's never going to be the guy. He's never going to be the guy. This is the second year in the NHL. He's 19. He's on the worst team in hockey right now. Like he's still putting up points. He still has back-to-back 20 plus. He's got 20 right now, but back-to-back 20 goal seasons as a 19-year-old. That's nothing just to look at and be like, oh, he's not going to, that's doing nothing.
20 goals, 60 points, which is good. Yeah, 100%.
Really good. 100%. And listen, I don't, I kind of like making the comparisons. I'm not making this comparison, and I know you're going to try to find a way to twist my words here.
I won't.
But Nathan McKinnon wasn't exactly lighting up the league when he entered.
Mm-hmm.
And like this guy now is probably, he could be argued to be the best player in the NHL. Like, you know what I mean? Like Bedard, the player Bedard is at 19 is not the player Bedard is going to be at 25. Like I still think Connor Bedard is going to score 50 and going to be a 100-point player. Like I think he's going to be that. I do.
50 goals. Yeah. Okay.
That's not my like Lafreniere take.
I was just going to say,
I'm going on a limb.
It's probably more realistic for Connor Bedard than it is for Lafreniere.
Yeah, and that's not me like saying.
Johnny, just know what I just said. I just said Connor Bedard is going to be a blank star.
Yes.
I just don't know if it's an all-star or a superstar.
I still think he'll be a superstar.
Okay. And I don't know yet. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, to me, so far, he looks like an all-star. Maybe he'll become a superstar. I don't know. And I'm not ready to, I'm not ready to say I think he will. I'm probably more in the boat that I think he won't be a superstar, but I do believe he'll at least be a guy who makes an all-star game more times than not.
And can I just read Nathan McKinnon's stats? Because Joe Mama just said Nathan McKinnon. Whoa. Like, I don't know if people like understand what Nathan McKinnon's like first 4 years in the NHL were like. So let me just read these, please. He played all 82 games, great rookie year, 24 goals, 39 assists, 63 points. Kind of similar to Bedard had 61 points in 68 games as a rookie last year, 22 goals, like kind of similar to Nathan McKinnon's production his first year. Second year, McKinnon scores 14 goals, 24 assists, 38 points in 64 games. His third year, 21 goals, 31 assists, 52 points in 72 games. His fourth year, 16 goals, 37 assists, 53 points in 82 games. Everything after that has been lights out. He gets 97 points in 2017-18, and that's when he explodes. But those first 4 years, those aren't anything crazy. Like that's kind of been par with where Bedard is right now.
I understand that, but you just, you're talking about a smaller guy who's light, and you just don't see him. Okay, listen, point taken. Good point. Point taken. I think we'll see what happens.
None of us know the answer, but I'm just saying. Like,
I am certainly not writing this guy off. I am just saying he's going to be a blank star in the NHL for so long, and I think those are superstar versus all-star to me are different things, at least the way I look at it. So,
yeah.
All right, Johnny, we got a couple of other things we have to get to.
A lot of things.
3 things. So why don't we get to thing number 1?
All right. Well, your favorite thing, the crispy hot take presented by the Ninja Crispy 4-in-1 portable glass air fryer. Vic, cue up the commercial.
Meet the first of its kind, the Ninja Crispy portable cooking system. The power of a full-sized air fryer in the palm of your hand, so you can cook big or small batches. Just prep it, crisp it, serve it, and store it all in one.
So the Ninja Crispy portable glass air fryer, it is an all-in-one system that includes a 4-quart, 6-cup Tupperware glass container and 2 storage lids. The Ninja Crispy is thermal shock resistant and can go from frozen to crispy in minutes with the Crispy Power Pod. You get the power of a full-size air fryer in the palm of your hands. The 4-quart container fits 4 pounds of chicken or veggies. You can cook a personal-sized meal in 7 minutes in the 6-cup container with max crisp, bake, air fry, and re-crisp with the Ninja Crispy. You can prep, cook, and store anything from crispy favorites to one-dish meals. Visit their website in the link in the description and stay tuned for a chance to win a free Ninja Crispy for one of our lucky fans. And with this, we do have to give a hot take. So we are coming up with hot takes every single day. Again, these are just hot takes. I don't want to be held against my will with these opinions. Yesterday, I said the Minnesota Wild will, miss out in the playoffs. And I saw Chris Kelleher as soon as I walked into MSG, and he's like, "You're going to try to give me a hug after what you said in the show today?" And obviously, I love that guy, so I gave him a big fat hug. He's the best, man.
Chris Kelleher is the assistant GM of Minnesota, just in case
I love him.
Sure. All right, get to your hot take.
He's the best. So the hot take for today is going to be the Florida Panthers being a first-round exit. And they're probably going to line up against Tampa Bay Lightning. I actually think right now, my cup pick is going to be Colorado versus Tampa Bay. The rematch of 2022. I think Tampa knocks out the Panthers in round 1. So that's going to be the hot take for today, that Florida is a first round exit. Any thoughts?
I don't think it's that hot of a take.
Really?
A legitimate Stanley Cup contender is out in that.
Well, I feel like people are still saying like they're the defending champs. They're the team to beat in the East. Like Pat said on the show this week.
I'm just saying either Tampa or Florida, who are both 100% capable of winning a cup, one of them's out in the first round. So I don't think that's a hot take. That's
okay.
My response.
Can I give you a different proposition? Because this is what I originally wanted. Okay. But I think you'd like this.
Let's keep going here.
I know your answer, but I think you'd like it.
So then, if you know my answer,
Vic will make it a poll in the chat. It's not a take. It was just like a option. So Mitch Marner and Jack Eichel both have 93 points. Which one between the two finishes with more this year? Make that a poll in the chat, Vic. Mitch Marner or Jack Eichel. Okay. Next order of business. Let's get into our OutWest Worst Team of the Week. And we have a new read for everybody. So we're going to introduce the Luna Everyday Quarter Zip from OutWest. We've taken the same breathable, ultra comfortable fabric from our best-selling Zakara Performance hoodie, which I have on right now, and crafted it into this brand new essential. Just like all of your pieces, the Luna Q-Zip strikes the perfect balance, not too fitted, not too baggy, giving you a clean, versatile look that feels just right, designed to move with you wherever your day takes you. It's perfect for everything from the office to the weekend. We just dropped 7 new colors on our site, outwest.us. This is a limited spring release, so don't miss out. Grab yours today and use code Cuppa, CUPPA, in all caps for 15% off of your first purchase. Out West, every game needs an outlaw. And this week's Out West Worst Team of the Week, a team that lost 5-0 on home ice last night to the Seattle Kraken. And that is the Vancouver Canucks, 0-2-1 in their last 3. They have fallen out of the playoff race. And Randy Workman actually said has to be the Flyers. Flyers aren't a bad choice, but the Vancouver Canucks seem like the clear-cut answer this week with, them being in playoff position and playoff contention to now being totally out of it. So the Vancouver Canucks is what we're going to go with. Any thoughts?
Their coaching situation is the fascinating point for me. I mean, again, it's what a disappointing year. Just wasting away on the youth of Quinn Hughes and dominance of Quinn Hughes, because you're just, you've got a team that, especially a guy with Pettersson, and I think he must be hurt right now. But that's the situation about Vancouver that fascinates me. But to lose 5-0 to Seattle when you're trying to hold on to a playoff spot, I mean, that's just a complete no-show effort. 0-2-1 in their last 3. Just ugly. Come on. What are we doing in Vancouver?
Yeah.
Like, those are good. That's a good fan. That's a passionate fan base. They deserve better.
Is Quinn Hughes out of there when he gets a chance?
No, not yet. Not yet. It hasn't got.
How many years is left on his deal?
I don't know. It hasn't got to that point yet. So
he's got 2 years left. It's coming up.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. We'll see probably in a year.
All right, last order of business. Bet365, bet of the night. For some crazy reason, we took the draw last night in Minnesota and the Rangers, and that's the one that hits. I don't know how that happens, but yeah, what a game last night at the Garden. But tonight, we're going to stick with this wild card race in the East, and we're going to go with the Montreal Canadiens to win in regulation against the Boston Bruins, who have been the Bruins could have easily been our Out West Worst Team of the Week this week too. But Montreal to win in regulation is -125, not too much juice. Obviously, the Canadiens right now are just trying to create any sort of separation away from the Rangers and the other teams chasing them for that second wild card spot. So they're an easy team to root for. We talk about Lane Hutson every day in the show now. So we will be watching Montreal Canadiens tonight. I just saw Jeremiah put in the chat, no supplemental discipline for Chatfield from Frank. So did Frank tweet that out?
He did. Yep. He said, I'm not expecting supplemental discipline. So
so it's not like an actual defined.
No, I mean, if he's saying that means it's somebody at the league told him it's not coming. I'd say that's a pretty safe bet.
Jeremiah also texted me. He texted me.
He won't. Did you do the read for 365, Johnny?
Oh no, I have to do that. I keep forgetting to do that. So remember, take Montreal to win regulation on Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win is a barn burner, every face-off, hat-trick, power play, shot on goal, penalty shot, and every suspenseful minute in between is amazing. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. At Bet365, an official partner of the NHL. Download the Bet365 app and use the code NATION, NATION. To get in on the game, you must be 19 or older. And please play responsibly. You were saying?
I'm just laughing at the chat.
What they say?
They picked up on a little detail. Joe Mama and her tap picked up on a little detail, little change of little change of direction I went with in what I was saying, and everybody's laughing at that. And they're not wrong. They're not wrong.
What were you saying? I missed it.
Of course you did, because you don't listen. So
look,
don't forget to give us a like on today's episode. It's been a great week. The following this week has been awesome. Make sure you get those automatic downloads. Even if you are a YouTuber, get the automatic download going anyway. All right. We need to pump those numbers. We are heading into we are heading into playoffs. We are in April. That means, every day closer to a big morning cup of hockey negotiation. So pump those numbers for us. Give us the ammo we need. Johnny has to be able to afford nice restaurants when he takes his girl out on a date. So
I'll actually be in St. Louis, by the way, officially.
Great. Just
if you want to hang out.
You can't stay in my room, so don't ask, okay?
I wasn't gonna.
Anyways, make sure you like this episode. Make sure you subscribe. We're up to 26,200 plus subscribers, so it's growing every day. It's been a great week. Next week, look, we'll do NHL obviously next week. We'll mix in some college hockey because we are, heading into the Frozen Four. I'll be in St. Louis Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Put your hand down, Johnny.
I have one thing.
Go ahead.
We forgot to mention it on Monday. Vic told me last week and I forgot, but Monday was actually our 100th show.
Okay. Congratulations.
We've done over 100.
Jake is asking if I'll hang out with you at the Frozen Four. Most likely not.
You better invite me to one dinner at least.
I definitely will not be inviting you to any dinners. But I'll get you some Uber Eats if you're hungry.
I'll take that.
Anyways, we'll see everybody next week. We hope you all have a great weekend. I know it's not the weekend yet. Enjoy the games. Monday will be packed. I'd like to get Guy Gadowski on the show next week.
I would love that. I would love that.
See if we can do that maybe Monday. I'll see. I'll shoot him a text this weekend and see what's going on. And we'll go from there. So everybody have a good day. And we'll see everybody back here 9 a.m. Monday morning.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.